Welcome, everybody. All right, you see the title. Come on in. Come on in. All right. Breathe, breathe. Calm down, relax, listen. All right. We're going to go into the scriptures and I'm going to also appear to reason and logic. All right. We got to talk about this because we can't just believe anything and everything that's told unto us. We just can't, lift people up and have them in such high regard and have so much respect to their persons that we never question what they say. We never question what they teach. We don't question their dreams. We just buy in. All right. There's a lot of that goes on in this awakening. And part of awakening is awakening to the things that you were asleep to, you know, when you were awakened to the truth. Yes, I know how that sounds, but we're awakened to this truth and immediately we're bombarded with a lot of stuff from a lot of different directions, right? But not every source is worthy to be listened to. And even among all sources, not everything that every source says is factual 100%. All right. There's a bit of truth in most things. All right. The key is having the spirit of discernment to know what to throw away and what to keep. Now, as it pertains to this 12 tribes chart, I stayed away from it. I didn't, want to get into it before because, I really focus on things that are important, for salvation. The 12 tribes chart, it has no bearing on salvation. Knowing it, not knowing it, doesn't matter for salvation, not one bit. So I never taught it. Here and there, I made comments, about my stance on it here and there, but I've never did a standalone video. But, watching a brother that I fellowship with on Facebook and him talking about the chart and so forth, with him trying to, teach and talk about the chart, I'm just like, I gotta try to at least pull the brother's coattail and try to enlighten him. And then also watching all of these ICE raids and the protests and the way that a lot of brothers in his truth, respond to these matters and how they respond in regards to all of these other peoples in general. Although it has vexed me and bothered me and irritated me for quite a while, never enough so that I wanted to do a video about it until now. That means the spirit is moving me. The Most High is irritated with it, and He's ready for me to speak on it. So let's speak on it. All right. So before we go any further, let's give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father Yahawah in the name of our beloved Savior Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Amen. All right. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Be willing to listen. Your desire should be to be correct and not to be right. Okay? You shouldn't care more about, being a respecter of persons and sticking to the code of your camp, of your group, or of the person, that you hold up in high regard and you really believe in them. And so you don't want to see them as somebody who's wrong. He's a prophet. He can't be wrong. He's a man of the Lord, right? He's one of the chief men of Israel. He can't be wrong. They can't be wrong, right? Wrong. All right. So, what is the chart and why it matters? All right. So the 12 tribes chart, um, it's a traditional, tool, right? That, and I say traditional, right? Because it's not scriptural. It's a traditional tool used by many Hebrew Israelite camps to identify the modern descendants of the biblical tribes of Israel. It assigns specific nations and ethnic groups in the Americas and the Caribbean to each tribe. Now, while spiritually meaningful to many, this chart has to be tested against the historical, genetic, and prophetic evidence to determine its accuracy. This is what they don't do. They stop at prophetic. All right. And then they just start throwing blankets on people. And this is where the problem arises because they can be partially right and partially wrong. See, two things can be true at the same time. You can be right and you can be wrong on a matter. All right, because you can be right on certain aspects of it and wrong on others. And that's what's going on with the chart. Again, I understand how it came about. I understand why, folks believe what they believe, and I understand the sources used in order to try to determine it. And, at first glance, okay, I can get it, I can understand. But again, even that should only go so far. You can't throw that blanket on everybody. Okay? You can't throw that blanket on everybody. You got to be very careful how you handle it. Because brothers are out here, man. They got fellas who are in their camps calling them brothers and everything else that are not really Israelites. They're not their brothers. They think just because this individual subscribes to the truth and they believe the truth that it has to be a brother. No, man, there are many, people who you would call heathens and Edomites who are out here confessing the truth, but you won't call them brother. So the prerequisite for being an Israelite can't be somebody who just acknowledges the truth, who understands the truth. That can't be it. All right. Otherwise, you got to welcome, all of these Europeans, these Caucasians, and all of the Hamites. You got to welcome all of these people in. You got to welcome, all the Asians, and you got to welcome everybody in who just simply believes that we are the Israelites and they believe what we teach. If that's the case, if that's your criteria, let them all in. They're all Israelites, right? But we were told to not cast our pearls before swine, to not give that which is holy unto the dogs. We were told to not try to share our blessings with the other nations. This is what we were told. But yet, here we are. Many Israelites are out here trying to make non-Israelites Israelites. Out here teaching people, yeah, who are you? Where's your father from? Oh, he's from Mexico. Oh, okay, you're Issachar. That's crazy, fam. Like that's the depth of your research, your into this person's lineage. See, it shows the ignorance of many Israelites. Like they forget, all of the mixing that is going on, right? They forget about slavery. They forget about how people were mixed and matched and sent here and sent there, and how all the tribes were not kept intact, and how in many areas you got many different bloodlines that were there, like in Mexico, right? You have, people who are the children of the quote unquote Siberian native, right? People who are the children of the Spanish, the Portuguese, Europeans, right? People who are, descendants of the Germans who fled there and the Ashkenazis who fled there and right? And then you have those who are um the product of our people. So they have all of these different um lineages that are there. So just being from that region can't make you an Israelite. You have to be of a certain bloodline in that region in order to be an Israelite. Just being from the region isn't enough, but that's what they're teaching. That's exactly what they're teaching. Oh, you're from Puerto Rico? Okay, that automatically makes you an Israelite. Doesn't matter what your lineage is, doesn't matter that you come from the Portuguese or the Spanish, doesn't matter geographically, your people are from Puerto Rico. You're an Israelite. Case closed. That's dumb. That's not scholarly. Let's stop the madness. All right. And so again, the reason why I'm getting into this now finally is because yes, the Most High is finally irritated enough to make me irritated with it. I didn't care before. But see, now what I'm watching is all of these things happening, the Most High is not able to get his props. He's not able to get his love. See, we say every video, all of us, all praise, honor, and glory to you, the Most High Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. But if you don't properly recognize what he's doing in the earth and give him credit for it, then you're not truly giving him all praise, honor, and glory, are you? Absolutely not. All right. So what I see, which is contrary to what a lot of other people see, they think what's happening with ICE and these Latinos, what they think is happening, they think this is, the Northern Kingdom tribes being persecuted for being Israelites. This is what they think. Again, remember I told you two things can be true at the same time? There are Israelite Latinos and Hispanics who are among them who are being persecuted for being Israelites. But remember the other part. The other part is that what about the children of the all of the the Siberians, right, who they call Native Americans, the children of the Portuguese and the Spanish and all the other lineages. They're all grouped together. They can't be getting persecuted for being Israelites, and they're not Israelites. So what are they being persecuted for? See, a lot of folks don't understand what they're watching. And what you're watching the Most High's will be done. You're watching the fulfillment of his promises. You're watching him pay back our enemies. You're watching him reward them for what they've done to us. You're watching him return their recompense upon their heads like he said he would do, but you can't even thank him because you're calling them Israelites and you don't see that he's handling your enemies for you. You can't even give them props for destroying your enemies. We keep praying for the fall of our enemies, but you can't even notice the fall of all your enemies because you're too busy calling a lot of your enemies Israelites. There lies the problem. All right. Let's go to Obadiah 1 and 15. Obadiah 1 and 15. For the day of Yahawah is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. All right. This is to all the heathen. All right. To Edom first, because to Edom chiefly, but to all the heathen, as they have done, it shall be returned upon their own heads. And now, come on, fam, we got to understand genealogy, right? And that the Latinos, they're just Spanish speaking heathens, all right? Who you call them Edomites. All right. If you want to call them Edomites, they're just Spanish speaking Edomites, right? Remember, what language did the Romans speak, fam? They didn't speak Roman, they spoke Latin. Hence the term Latino. You get it? You see how foolish you sound? Oh, you're Latino? Oh, you're Hispanic? Right? The Most High, the word says, as they have done, they're going to be rewarded, right? For what they have done, they shall be paid back. All right? Now, many of y'all don't know history well enough to understand the role of the Spanish. You know about the Romans and their role, right? But what about the Spanish and the Portuguese? Do you not realize that they are the ones who kicked off the transatlantic slave trade? Do you not know this? They kicked it off. It was them that started it. It started with them by decree of the Pope of the Catholic Church, of course, but they are the ones who kicked it off. They're the ones who started the separating our families, selling the men and women and children in different directions, right? Kidnapping the children and putting them on ships and taking them away from their parents, right? All of that stuff. So what are you seeing right now, fam, with these ICE raids and all of this? They're experiencing what we went through as a people, what our families being split up, right? The persecution. They are going through what our people went through, what we went through once upon a time. Now we will admit that regeneration is real and that the wicked are back um to receive their punishment, to receive their judgment. But you're watching it and you don't even know what you're watching. You don't see the Father doing unto them as they have done unto us, which he said he would do, because you're calling them Israel. You see, so you can't truly say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai while you're also clinging on to the 12 tribes chart. You can't do both. You're not doing both. That's the problem. All right. So you see the universal law of recompense, right? The heathens' actions against Israel will boomerang back on them. This is what you're watching. What they have done unto us is happening to them. Stop caping for them. I'm telling you, and I be saying a lot of these other brothers, man, they go harder on Negroes, on so-called Judah, than they do on the northern tribes, right? They got a soft spot in their heart for the northern kingdom. Oh, but when it comes to Judah, when it comes to the melanated tribes, oh man, they got so much smoke and fire, right? They be breathing, they be dragons. They turn into dragons when they start talking about Judah, when they start talking about so-called Negroes, right? But then, oh man, their positions soften up when they start talking about so-called Native Americans and so-called Latinos and Hispanics, right? The tone and tenor get very different. It lightens up, right? You can almost see a smile on their faces while you're listening to them, right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30. Let's come down to verse 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. All right? Remember, they kicked it off. Everything they did to us has to happen to them. You are watching the beginning of their trouble. You're watching the beginning of their tribulation. You are watching the recompense be returned upon their head, as he said. All right. A total reversal of roles. All right. Captors become captives. Spoilers become spoiled. Right. All right. We all know Revelation 13, right? Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. All right. The Portuguese and Spaniards, they led us into captivity, which means what? They got to go into captivity. You're watching the beginnings of their trouble. All right. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. All right. The eye for an eye. All right. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So what you do will be done unto you. What they have done unto us will be done unto them. All right. That's what's happening. But our people got bleeding hearts for our enemies, for the people who hate our guts. These aren't Northern Kingdom Israelites hating us because it's just a normal, a beef that we've had between the tribes. No, that's not what you're seeing. Although partially it is what you're seeing, because two things can be true at the same time. Those who are actually Israelites among them, they do hate us because of the feud that we've had that's gone back. Plus the fact that they've been living with side by side and being actual family and brothers and sisters and cousins and so forth with the children of the conquistadors. They feel the same and think the same as they do. So they have the same hatred against us as they do. All right. You do have, simultaneously Israelite natives and Israelite Hispanics, right? Side by side with heathen Hispanics and heathen natives, because they're mixed. They're family. They've become family through mixing. So they share ideologies, right? And so you have a mixture of the two going on within them. But guess what? It is the minority of them who are us, fam. Remember, we were made few in number everywhere. So it ain't the majority in all of these places. It ain't the majority of natives who are Israelites. It ain't the majority of Hispanics who are Israelites. It is a small percentage of them. All right. So judgment and justice are the hope of the saints, Israel. That's what we're hoping for. And as we're seeing it, you're not even able to thank the Most High and praise, honor, and glorify Him for it because you're too busy thinking that they're your family. Now, when it comes to these camp boys, they don't mind, saying F these ninjas this, these niggas that, these niggas this, these niggas that, you know what I'm saying? These two-third niggas, these niggas need to die, blah, blah, blah. They don't have no problem saying that when it comes to Judah. But when it comes to the northern tribe, oh man, they get the soft shoeing, right? That bleeding hearts become irreparable. They start bleeding all over the keyboard, right? Let's get Isaiah 34, verse 8. For it is the day of Yahawah's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Everybody has to pay for the controversy of Zion. All right. All of our enemies, they got to pay. All right. Payback time is based on how the nations treated Zion. Right. Deuteronomy 30. And I have to get these scriptures before I get into what else I want to show, just to lay the groundwork, man, because it's like our people forget the scriptures or something. All right, Deuteronomy 30, verse 7. And Yahawah thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. The curses are being lifted off of us and they are turning onto our enemies. They are coming under the curses and we are coming from under the curses. Glory to the highest, right? All praise, honor, and glory to our Abba Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Wahara Kakwadash. All right. I recognize your mighty work, Lord. Thank you for avenging us. Thank you for doing unto our enemies as they have done unto us. This is the hope, the patience, the faith of the saints. All right. Um, so um, yeah, so the very curses that Israel suffered under will be transferred to the nations. All right, that's clear. Let's get Psalm 137. So this isn't me just, projecting or using my own mind. Nah, this is through the spirit, man. I'm telling you, I'm annoyed with it finally. I didn't care for so long. Now I'm finally annoyed with it. And it's only one reason why I'm annoyed with it, because the spirit that is in me, he who that is in me, that is greater than he that is in this world. Yeah, he's annoyed with it and it's time, and he's holding his tongue no longer. All right. He's sick of it. He's fighting for us. Just imagine, put the shoe on the other foot. Imagine it was you and you were fighting for your children and they were busy trying to love on the people that you was fighting against for them. Imagine trying to defend your children and they were trying to love on the people that you was fighting against for them. You was trying to fight against the people who were fighting against them. You were fighting against the people who hate them and they were trying to love on those people. Would it annoy you? Yep, it would annoy me. All right, Psalm 137, verse 8. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Now, so you see, this is about Babylon, right? The daughter of Babylon, but this also pertains to all the heathen, to all of our enemies, because it's the same rule of reciprocation. All right. The same rule of recompense, right? That everything the other nations have done unto us is going to happen unto them. So every group of people, everything that they are responsible for doing against us is going to happen to them. And that's what you're seeing. So, all right. So this isn't like just a cry for justice. It's a prophecy of divine vengeance. You're watching divine vengeance and you're not able to give credit where it's due because you're not recognizing what's happening. Because you're wrong about the chart. You're wrong about the lineages. So you're not able to show the proper respect, love, and admiration and thanks and appreciation into our power because of it. That's why this matters. That's why I'm now doing it. All right. Because our father is being robbed of his props, of the love he should be getting, the appreciation he should be getting for what he's doing, because you're too busy looking at these people who he's paying back for what they've done to you as your family, who's just being persecuted by the enemy for being Israelites. All persecution and judgment and all hardship comes from our Father. All right, so Lamentations 1 and 21. They have heard that I sigh. There is none to comfort me. All mine enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that thou hast done it. Thou wilt bring the day that thou hast called, and they shall be like unto me. Look, this is what our enemies have done. See, they have heard of our trouble. None have comforted us. They were glad at what he has done unto us, but he's going to bring, and he is bringing the day that he has called, right? The time of the vengeance on our enemies, and they shall be like unto us. All right. Be made low, suffer persecution, come under the curses. Let all their wickedness come before thee, and do unto them as thou hast done unto me, for all my transgressions. For my sighs are many, and my heart is faint. All right. This is a prophetic request for equal punishment, and it's heard by the Most High. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 47. I should be done by now. It should be clear, and I should be able to just get on to the meat of the lesson, right? But Isaiah 47, verse 6, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient thou hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. All right, now we know, yes, this is talking about Babylon, but remember, a lot of nations teamed up with Babylon. All right. A lot of nations share in that same spirit. They drink from that same cup. They drink from that spirit. They were the first. Again, they were the first, as in the transatlantic slave trade, that portion of our persecution. All right. When it comes to transatlantic slave trade, they are the genesis of it. They began. They are the ones who started it. Right. We come to verse 10, it says, For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am and none beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. All right. So nations that abuse Israel will be punished for overstepping their role. Right. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High Yahawah to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. These people have been troubling us for a long time. See, the problem is what I know is that a lot of you brothers may live in places where there is not a big Hispanic population, so you don't have much experience or interaction with them to have any negative feelings about them, to understand the hatred that they have for you. You don't really know. I come from South Central Los Angeles. Yeah, I know very well. I know very well. I have plenty of experience with them. I know the depths of the hatred. You know what I mean? I know the depths. I know the track record. All right. I'm under no delusion about what it is. All right. So again, this is confirmation that vengeance is righteous and vengeance is happening. We know it's righteous and we know that vengeance is to come. But you can't even see that vengeance is happening to these people. You can see it happening to other people, but when it's happening to these people, you can't recognize what it is because you don't recognize who these people are. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 33, verse 1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled. All right. We didn't do anything to the Spanish and the Portuguese. We didn't do anything to them, but yet they spoiled us, didn't they? Yep. Yet they took us into slavery, didn't they? Yep. Yet they did many egregious things to us, didn't they? Split up families, right? Split up children from the yep. So now that you're seeing all of these reports, oh, families are being split up and children are being ripped away and parents are being whipped away from their children and blah, blah, blah. And now your heart is bleeding. Your heart is aching for these people, but they're getting what they deserve. They're getting what they did to you. These are those wicked individuals, those spirits. They are back again and they are receiving the recompense of their reward. That's what's happening right now. But you can't see it because you don't know who they are. That's a problem. The spoiler becomes the spoiled. Justice isn't just coming. Justice is here. Justice is happening right now. All right. So now the premise of the study, all right, to go ahead and get into that now that we laid that is that, we can affirm that E1B1A is the Y-DNA haplogroup of the Israelites. If you understand that we are Israel, right, you know for a fact that we are Israel. And geneticists, genealogists, they will tell you that E1B1A, those who are not races and part of a cover up, they will tell you that the DNA, the Y-DNA of the Israelites is E1B1A. All right. They will tell you that. All right. And so if you do your genealogy, you do you get your DNA tested and you are not E1B1A, you are not an Israelite, fam. That's what it boils down to. Just like the boy Alazar, you know what I'm saying, Gorilla Hebrew, you know, his whole DNA debacle, right? Because he was from R1B. He had R1B DNA. He's not an Israelite, but y'all welcomed him in, called him a chief priest and everything else. And look at him. You see, he had to fall, just like the others had to fall. You thought he was just falling because of his little personal wickedness. That's part of it. But the other part is he's, again, the lineage of our enemies, who was a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be one of us, snuck in, pretending to be one of us. Y'all welcomed him in. And look at the destruction that he did because y'all welcomed him in. This is why it's important. These people are amongst us. Your enemies are amongst you, calling themselves you. You're calling them you, right? You're trying to share your blessings with them, and they're close enough to you to be Trojan horses, and you don't even realize it. All right. And so we understand that Y-DNA is the DNA that passes down from father to son. All right. From father to son. Why is this important? Because yes, we know Israel is like a speckled bird. Yes, this is not a black or white thing, right? It's not a color thing. We know that people of every lineage will come in different shades and colors and even phenotypes. All right. We know this, but you know what shouldn't change? What should be steady? The Y-DNA. Even if phenotypes are different and skin color is different, the Y-DNA should be the same because Y-DNA passes from father to son. And if we all come from one man, which means we should all have the same Y-DNA. If you do not have the Y-DNA E1B1A, you can't be and are not an Israelite, fam. So when you want to apply the prophecies and everything else, you got to apply them to the people who have that E1B1A Y-DNA. It can't be for the other nations. You can't apply it to them and say, well, and try to make it about a geographic region. It's not about a geographic region. You can't be that dumb, right? Because you got to know migrations. You got to know that, okay, even if it was true once upon a time, why would you be dumb enough to think it applies now when you think about slavery and colonialization and migrations and all that? Why would you think that would be the same? All right, probably hundreds of years ago that maybe that chart could have been accurate. Maybe you could have said that all the people there once upon a time, right? But then came a time when mixing happened, right? When migrations happened, right? So then you can't really just throw that blanket over everybody in the and the geographic region anymore. You got to adapt and adjust with the times. That's scholarly, right? That's good scholarship. All right. Because we know per Numbers 1 and 18. What do we know from Numbers 1 and 18, fam? Before I get there, somebody knows it. Say it out loud. That the genealogy is reckoned by the Father. All right. Before we get to 118, let's get verse 2. Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families by the house of their fathers. All right. Now, this is not something that I have to really hammer home for those of us who are in this awakening. We understand this. I'm just getting it for the sake of scholarship to lay the foundation. All right. Look, the census of Israel's warrior. If we're going to take the census of Israelites, and that's what we're doing if we're making a 12 tribes chart, you're making a census record. You have to do so by families, right? It has to be by the house of their fathers, which means they got to all be Israelites. They got to all have Y-DNA being the same. They got to all have the same Y-DNA. All right. All males got to have the same Y-DNA. Okay. That's what we're, laying out here. All right. So again, lineage is determined by the father's line, meaning Y-DNA is the most reliable marker of Israelite identity. All right. So, we seek to compare the chart to actual genetic data to determine whether its claims line up with the truth. All right. So, when we talk about, the chart, All right. And we're going to assume, for the study of the chart to be accurate. All right. That's what we're going to work from. The standpoint that the chart is accurate. Okay. If we're going to work from that standpoint, now let's go through the genealogy, the records, to see the frequency of E1B1A by percentage in those regions, so we can determine the likelihood of Israelite descent. All right. So the chart says Judah, African Americans, right? Of quote unquote African Americans, 60 to 70% have E1B1A lineage. So not all African Americans are Israelites. So you can't stand out there telling everybody, hey, where's your father from? Right? Where is he from? Oh yeah, that means he's Judah, because there's 30 to 40% of those walking around here calling themselves African Americans or being labeled as African Americans are not us, right? They're not us. All right. Next, we got Benjamin, West Indians, Jamaica, etc., right? The Caribbean. 75 to 90% E1B1A. Very high, right? Very high, just like, Judah in America is very high, right? But not in total, not in totality, though, right? See, this is the point I'm making. You see what I'm saying? Is that you can have a percentage of those people actually be the people, actually be Israelites, but not all of them, though. So you can't just say all of the people from this region are all XYZ tribe. You can't do that. All right. Levi, Haitians, right? From Haiti. Their E1B1A percentage is 95%, extremely high. All right. Extremely high percentage of them being Israelites. Again, does it mean that they're all Levi? No, it doesn't, because of mixtures, migrations, and slavery and all of that kind of stuff, right? With people being mixed up. It doesn't mean that, though. All right. But again, we're working from the premise that the chart is true. All right. So Ephraim, all right, Puerto Ricans, all right. Well, it should go without saying that it's the Afro Puerto Ricans who should be considered, not all Puerto Ricans, right? Because a good percentage of the Puerto Ricans are of Portuguese and Spanish descent. All right. So, what is the percentage for them? 25 to 30% E1B1A. All right. Moderate Afro descendants only. All right. 25 to 30%. But you're saying all Puerto Ricans are Ephraim. All right. Again, that's ignorant. Manasseh, they say Cubans. All right. 10 to 15% E1B1A DNA. Low to moderate. All right. 10 to 15%. Very small percentage of the total Cuban population are E1B1A, aka Israelites. Simeon, they say Dominicans, right? 20 to 30% E1B1A DNA. That's moderate. Zebulon, they say Guatemalans and Panamanians, right? Less than 5% E1B1A. Very low. Issachar, the Mexicans, they say. All right. Less than 1%, extremely low. Less than 1%, extremely low. Less than 1%, extremely low. Where's your father from? Oh, he's from Mexico. Oh, yeah, you're Issacharite. Okay. Gad, Native Americans, 0%. None. Reuben, Seminole Indians, 0%. None. Now, for these two groups, it's important to make this note that the reason why you're going to get this is because this is considering those Siberians, the Asians who are called Native Americans, not our people who were here before. You see, y'all keep trying to lump those Siberian quote unquote natives with the indigenous black population who was here. You're calling them all natives. You're making them all one people. That's the mistake. Yes, we do have our people who are native here, who are indigenous to the Americas. Absolutely. But they aren't counted among the Native American population. You see, many of them are counted among that 60 to 70% of African American population. That's the point. You're right. They're included in that number. They're called African Americans. They're not called native or indigenous. So we have to look at that for what it is and why that is. So stop calling these Asian looking people, stop calling them, again, we know that they come from Siberia. On one hand, you calling them Ammon and Moab, and then on the next hand, you calling them Israelites. It's pure foolishness. All right, Naphtali, Argentinians and Chileans, less than 1%, extremely low. Asher, Colombians and Brazilians, 10 to 20%, moderate in Afro areas only. All right, so you see what this is laying out. That is really foolish to say that all the people in the area, in the region, are all Israelites because they come from there. When we understand that they don't all have the same genealogy. They don't, because we're not all the same people because of migrations and slavery, colonialization, and so forth, right? Stop throwing a blanket over everybody in the region and just telling everybody, oh yeah, you from so and so, yeah, you're XYZ tribe. That's crazy. All right. And so again, you see like Haitians, right? They say Haitians are Levi, right? To make my other study. The Limba tribe in Africa, right? The Limba tribe of Southern Africa, they have preserved Hebrew customs for centuries and are self-acknowledged Israelites. And not just Israelites, but Levites. Levites. All right. So DNA studies confirm that a significant portion of them are Levites carrying the Cohen modal haplotype. All right. But what is it? What does that say again? That a significant portion of them are Levites. What does that mean? That not all of them are Levites. So what does that mean? That some of them are non-Levites. They're all from one tribe, but they're not all Levites though. By DNA, some are Levites, probably some are Benjamin, probably some are Judah. Right? Because Judah, Benjamin, Levi were together more often than they weren't. Right? So it's a good percentage, a good chance that they are mixed of Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. Possibly there's even people from other tribes in there. But you see the point being made, though, that just because they're all together in one tribe doesn't even mean that they all are of the same, tribe. As far as Israelites go, they have the same Y-DNA, right? But they don't all have the genetic marker that shows that they are Levites, though. Because even among all the tribes, there is a slight variation in all the DNA by tribe. So we'll all have the same Y-DNA, but there will be some sort of a minor genetic variance in there that shows from a different tribe. Same father, but different tribes though. All right, so this creates a major contradiction with the chart. If the Haitians are all Levites, right? And how do you explain the Limba? When and how did the Limba separate from the Haitians? All right, if the Haitians if the Limba as a tribe are not even all Levites, but a mixture of Israelite tribes, wouldn't it stand to reason that the Haitians would be a mixture of Israelite tribes, right? That everywhere Israelites are, that they are a mixture of Israelite tribes and not just, all from one tribe, because our enslavers were not great people. They were not humane people and good humans who didn't want to separate families and didn't want to separate tribes and wanted to keep everybody together. That's not what they did. That's not what they did, right? So again, so everywhere there's a mix of tribes, all right, showing how dispersed and interwoven Israelite bloodlines really are, right? So again, the key point is that enslavers who scattered Israel did not preserve the tribes or families. Israelites from multiple tribes were mixed and scattered across the earth, just as Deuteronomy 28 and 64 says, right? Especially Judah. We know Judah was scattered to the four corners of the earth. Judah's everywhere. Judah should be mixed in with the Israelites everywhere. They can't, you know what I mean? Judah should be mixed in with Israelites everywhere. Everywhere Israelites are, you should find some of Judah there too. Everywhere. Right? So we know per Deuteronomy 28 and 64 and Amos 9 and 9, right? Which said they would be, where we would be, that we be mixed and scattered across the earth. So that means Israelites from many tribes um, are found wherever Israelites were taken, including the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Africa. There's Israelites throughout Europe, Israelites in Asia, Israelites in Africa, but yet you don't see any of those regions on the 12 tribes chart. Like there's no Israelites anywhere else except the places on the 12 tribes chart. You see how also you can, you see the problem there? You see the problem? So despite appearance, Y-DNA tells the tale. So skin color can vary due to mixing and environment, but Y-DNA is inherited through the father. So most Israelites, shared common ancestry through Jacob, Israel, same father, but different mothers, hence the small genetic variances because the different mothers, right? So, so again, therefore, a common male lineage should be detectable. All right. So this makes E1B1A the unifying genetic identity of the Israelites, regardless of geographic location. All right. So don't think that I'm saying it's a color thing. It's not. It's a DNA thing. All right. Y-DNA, passed down from father to son, to be specific. Right. Right. So we have Israelites outside the chart, man. Right. Yoruba, Igbo, Akans, Bantu, in West Central Africa, 70 to 90% E1B1A. 70 to 90% E1B1A, but they aren't on the chart. Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Latino populations, 30 to 95% E1B1A, depending on region, right? Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Latinos, not all Caribbeans and Caribbean and people in all Afro-Latino, I mean, in all Latino peoples, right? The Afro is on the front for a reason. It's a reason why people say I'm Afro-Latino or Afro-Latina, because it matters. It matters because they're not the same people, right? They're from the same region. They're the same people nationally, but not ethnically. All right. What about the cities in India, right? Black Iranians and scattered Afro Europeans, Black Brits and Afro French, all right? E1B1A confirmed against many of them, but they're not on the chart. So these populations were not included in the original chart, but are more genetically aligned with Israel than many listed groups. All right. So what does that mean? The chart has to be reevaluated. What we understand has to be evaluated because migrations, again, even if you can say the chart was true at one point, well, it's not true now. You have to adapt, you have to adjust your thinking with the times. You got to be smart, you got to be scholarly. All right, we can't just be ignorant. This is how people laugh at us and they think they were a bunch of freaking morons because you say stupid stuff that just it don't even stand up to the logic test. It just logically is foolish, right? But you say, well, a lot of spiritual things don't pass the logic test, but the spiritual things and the logic things should line up, to a certain degree. When you're talking about stuff like this is where the two worlds should converge. This is where you should be able to use the two in conjunction to help tell the tale. All right. So again, while spiritually valuable to some people, the traditional 12 tribes chart does not align with the facts, fam. It fails to account for the dispersal, mixing, and Y-DNA based lineage of the real Israelites. Remember, E1B1A is the key, and it exposes the reality that many chart claims are doctrinal, not evidential. So this is a call to truth, right? Let every Israelite re-examine what they believe, not based on tradition, but on the truth Yahawah has revealed through prophecy, history, and through science to a degree. All right. So let's close out with some scriptures. Let's get 2 Peter chapter 1. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we made known unto you the power and coming of our Lord Yahawah Hamashiach, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. Now, we can apply this into this scenario because we're not supposed to follow cunningly devised fables. What are fables? They are myths, right? Myths. Let's go into the interlinear. Look up fables. A speech, word, or saying, a narrative, a story. All right. I had a dream today. Somebody's dream. That's a narrative. All right. A true narrative, a fiction, a fable, an invention, a falsehood. A falsehood. All right. So when it says, let's come back up to the scripture. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables. Who are the we? Who are the we? Let's go to Matthew 24, verse 24. For there shall arise false Christs, false Mashiachs, and false prophets. I had a dream. And shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. It's not possible to deceive the elect. That's why the elect, they don't believe in the 12 tribes chart. The elect are not the people pushing the 12 tribes chart because the elect can't be deceived. That's what it's telling you. The elect can't be deceived. The 12 tribes chart is a deception. Saying that all of these people in all of these regions that they're Israelites, that's a deception. If you believe the deception, you are not of the elect. Or maybe you believed it for a time, and then when the truth is presented to you, if you still believe the deception, you are not of the elect. You can't be of the elect. All right. Before you heard this type of point of view and you believe, it's possible to have been of the elect and to have not known better because you have not heard this other perspective, right? But if you have heard this perspective and you still believe the lie, that means you can't be of the elect. You can't be. All right? Because the elect do not believe cunningly devised fables. All right? That's the truth of the matter. So I may end on that note. So let us give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahawah, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakwadash. Let us thank our Father for all that he has done and all that he is doing, for everything that he has in store for us yet to come, for everything that he has purposed and everything that he has promised, the things that we know of and the things that we don't, the things that we see and the things that we can't. We thank him for all these things, and we pray for the discernment and ability to know the truth, to know his plans, and to see his mighty works. Glory to the highest. I'll see you guys on the next one, Yahawah willing. I pray that you guys were all edified. I hope that this helps somebody who was in the dark. Now I know this is also some spring cleaning, because there's people who are gonna hate me for teaching this truth, and they're gonna get out of here. They're gonna hit that unsubscribe button because it wasn't meant for them to stay on the path of righteousness. The Most High wants them to remain in darkness or go back into the darkness. So he's gonna put them on a road that that deviates from the path of walking with me. You're going to get to go back to one of these other guys who are teaching these falsehoods so that you can go off the cliff with them. All right. I don't care about subscriber numbers or none of that. I told you my channel is called EachOne Reach One, not EachOne Reach a Many, right? So the goal is to reach at least one person and teach one person the truth with each lesson. And if that happens, job well done. If people unsubscribe, remember they weren't meant to walk this walk with us. Remember, not everybody can go. Everybody ain't making it to the wilderness. Everybody ain't making it into the kingdom. Everybody ain't making it into our land. Many people are going to have to go the wrong way. They're going to have to go through the broad gate that leads to destruction. So that's their plot. That's their plot. That's their lot. That's their fate. Yahawah's will be done. See you guys on the next one. Yahawah willing. Each one reach one, family. Shalom.